stop giving me. Good morning, everybody, and Shabbat Shalom to the 12 tribes of Israel scattered abroad and believers in Yeshua Messiah. Again, good morning to you, everybody. Good morning, LMC. It's a beautiful, cold day here in the Northeast, but it is the Sabbath, and here we are on Hidden Manna. I hope that you guys are enjoying your Sabbath so far, as it has been Sabbath for you. We are here to have a discussion, talk about the things of Father, and to do that, of course, I have my dear brother with me. Hey, Brother Max. Good morning, man.
Hey, what's up? Hey, buddy.
How you feeling today, brother?
Good. Cold out there today, man.
Yeah, it's cold, man. I'm wearing a really thick sweatshirt. I mean, and our heat's been going all night long, but it's still still cold. I can't, man. Imagine those people in Ukraine. You know, all the stuff. I know the people all over Europe going through a cold winter, and you know, oil's crazy, even crazy more expensive than it is even here.
Mm-hmm.
I heard in England you get fined for burning wood.
Well, they've even done just out of nowhere, just regular wood or like a wood stove.
Oh, even wood stove, wood fireplace. You get fined now. They catch you doing that. You get fined.
Well, you know, I just had some new heating systems put in, and the guy was telling me that wood stoves, they have to be I forgot what certification it is, but the ones that most people have really now are illegal in the state of New York. It's crazy, man. Yeah,
it's kind of crazy. But imagine, man, it's middle of winter and you're putting on a fire to warm your house.
Mm-hmm.
You can't afford oil, but you got wood. You cut down whatever trees.
You look outside and see a forest of trees, and you're like, can't even utilize them.
And you've got a cop banging on your door, telling you, "Oh, we see smoke coming out of your chimney. Here's a $500 ticket, or whatever it is in pounds in England." Crazy stuff,
crazy.
Man. Crazy stuff. And you hear the whole thing about gas now here. They're talking about trying to get rid of gas. I mean, Matt, we talked about that this morning. Yeah, good luck with that in New York.
Yeah, right.
Everything, every building has gas in it. What do you? I mean,
yeah, every restaurant, man. You can't get enough BTUs to cook food on those electric stoves, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so cold. I was rocking this morning, my LMC
there you go.
Tabernacles.
Yeah. Oh, I'm wearing a really thick. I got to show this to everybody. I'm wearing that. This is sort of a spoof. It says H3068. It's a. I know you can't hear me with the microphone. It's a spoof on
Calvin Klein.
Calvin Klein. Yeah. We see the Calvin Klein thing. But and actually, Brother Dave and Sister Ali bought it for me. They bought one for PM and Karen. But this one I got. They didn't get this one. And when I first saw it, I'm like, man, H3068. I get the whole Calvin Klein spoof thing.
But
I'm like, what is that? And then I realized Brother Dave was telling me, well, you got to look it up in Strong's. It's the it's Hebrew 3068. And of course, you guys can look that up. Find out in your Strong's what H3068 is, and then you'll get the T-shirt.
Yep. Just a heads up. If you hear Josiah in the back there, he's in rare form. He's going to be 3 in 2 weeks. So
I know.
Everyone out there knows
it's
what
his
I'm talking
birthday
about.
month. Yeah, it's his birthday month. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Your birthday, my birthday.
Yeah.
It's a big birthday month in our family.
Yeah, it's a big birthday month for sure. All right. So this morning we're going to talk about the process. You know, I mean, I'd say, you know, for me, excuse me, for me personally, this journey that we've been on, it's a journey, and I think that's maybe one of the topics I want to cover for today.
No doubt. Yep.
Is that this really is a journey, but I've been on this journey. Really, I guess since I first began to understand who Father is, I've always been pursuing, always been, you know, learning, always had some issues with things, always realized something was just not right. So I don't know, it's been many years for us, but I mean, really pursuing truth, I'd say about 10 years now, maybe not even that long. So, you know, as a congregation, we're in the process of doing this, and as individuals, we're also in the process of doing this, and it is a process. It's not a a one-time thing, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But it is a process, and all of us are supposed to be walking out this process,
Yep.
or walking the way, I guess is maybe another way of saying it, which, tomorrow is going to be our final study on from the beginning, and there's a whole lot more to talk about, with Abraham and stuff. It's just that Passover is right around the corner.
I know. I can't believe that. Well, actually, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, me too.
It's coming quick.
Me too. And and I want to sort of change our focus a little bit, and because there's a whole lot to say about Passover that I want to be able to teach. It's going to take a few weeks to do that. So we'll finish it up. And just to remind everybody, please make sure that you hit that like button if you enjoy the conversation, all the studies, everything that you watch. Hit that like button. Give us a thumbs up. Make sure that you are subscribed so that you get notified every time that we go live. And if you're blessed by what we do, if you're encouraged, if you're taught, please consider supporting us. You can do that in the description box below. You can tap it. It'll show you how to give, how to support LMC. It'll take you right to our page to support us. We appreciate it, guys. If it's if you're just going to give an offering, if it's a $5 offering, you listen and you hung out with us, and you enjoyed it. We appreciate it. Everything you do helps us to continue what we do. It takes a lot to do this. There's a whole lot of working parts that go to this that many people don't see. So that's commercials. You got to get the commercials out. So that's the commercials. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, I know. I got caught on the hot mic again today. I forgot to hit the mute button there. But I wasn't asking for coffee this time. No coffee this time. I had to be the technician. But no, PM's the technician. So anyway, so let's talk about the process. And one of the reasons that I think this is a good conversation for today, it's not necessarily a Bible study type thing for us, but just a conversation on the process, on what we've gone through so far. Because I don't know about you, but the way that I perceived religion before, and maybe religion isn't even the right word to say because there's so many different religions. This is not religion, but for lack of a better term, as I experienced religion, as I understood, all the years of, wherever we were, I always understood it as, you said whatever that the prayer was, you made that statement of faith, and then that's it, right? Yep. You are now in.
Yep, you're in the kingdom.
You're in the kingdom, and now you learn about church. You're part of your local congregation. You do whatever things that you do in your congregation. But no matter what,
and most churches throw you right into ministry too, right?
Yeah. You're which is just that's a dangerous thing. Just over the years we've realized, and it's dangerous for the person that you do that to when you give them responsibility, because over the years you realize, no, you got to learn.
Yep.
You need to take time to sit down and to learn and to understand. I know people want to serve, and that's awesome, man. That is awesome that people want to serve. But just to be on to help them out and to help the fellows, because honestly, it's a lot different if you're an individual and you're walking this walk. You can make decisions right and left and change whatever you want on whatever day you want. Start doing one thing, stop doing another thing. But when you're a congregation, when you're a group of people, you can't just switch up something the next day. Because as a shepherd, all you're gonna do is you're just gonna cut sheep off, and and they're gonna fall away, and they're gonna wander, or they're gonna think you're nuts, and so it takes time to explain. It takes time to teach, and the time could be years, honestly, to teach.
And that's crazy through the experience that I've seen in churches. People come, like you said, they say that prayer, now they're saved, right? In the church's eyes, they're in the kingdom. And what's usually the first area of ministry that they put them in? Children's church. Go downstairs and teach the kids. So now, listen, they're not hearing the word, which really, are they really? But so they're not even learning. Now they're teaching our children what they don't even know.
Yeah.
Right? It's just really a glorified babysitter is really what they want. You know.
Well, whether it's children's ministry or ushers ministry or
Yep.
whatever other things make a local because again, it's different. The growth of a local congregation is not the same as the growth of an individual. You're in charge of your growth, right? You're going to you decide one day, yeah, I'm going to honor the Sabbath. Well, that's phenomenal. That's wonderful. You decide as a shepherd, listen, we need to pursue the Sabbath. Now you got to teach that to people. Now you got to help them understand that, and you're going to lose people. There's no way. There's no way not to. Not everybody's going to get it. But what I've to get back to my original thought, what I have realized over the years is it's very different from what I thought or what I was told in the beginning. It's not a destination. It's not a saying or a prayer or a verbal confession, and that's it. It's a verbal. It's an acknowledgement. It's an understanding of who Father is and what this thing is about, and then there's a walk.
Yeah.
And the walk takes time, and the walk is a process, and it doesn't happen overnight. And the crazy thing is that we're not all at the same place. We are all at very, very different places in our walk, and it's kind of precarious for us in the day in which we're living today, because being 2,000 years after Messiah comes is definitely an advantage to us, because we can look back on history, right? And so we can better understand. We can see the bigger picture. But it's also a disadvantage to us, a tremendous disadvantage to us, because we are so far removed from what the believers of the first century were doing. This thing, how it started. We are so far removed, and on top of that, and I know that there's a whole bunch of different views and ideas about this, but I wholeheartedly 100% understand and realize and believe that both the beast and the false prophet have been here for 2,000 years. And every generation in one formation or another of those two entities has had to live. I know everybody's, you got so much stuff out there that's saying, we're waiting for somebody to come, and there's going to be a guy, or there's going to be a temple, and all of that kind of stuff. I don't want to get into too much of that today, but I understand that we have been living in the shadow of both the false prophet, because actually what it's talking about when it says that there's a beast is a nation. I mean, how many times have, we've talked about this a gazillion times in studies. We've shown it in the scripture. It's consistent all the way through. Father's going to make a covenant with the nations, Noah with the nations, with the beast, with the animals, Daniel just over and over and over and over and over again. Father gives us the analogy that the nations are beast, and the whole story of Daniel is that there's one particular nation, Rome, which is actually Babylon. And you know what? I should probably look it up. I don't know if you can look it up. There's actually, I think it's in Peter. I'm not sure if it's in First Peter or Second Peter, where Peter talks about them being in Babylon, but he's referring to Rome. So their concept of Babylon was Rome, and that's absolutely true, because Babylon is the extension from Nimrod all the way down to Babylon. And with so many people, again, we've got this idea that
First Peter 5:13.
Let's check it out. Let's make sure. I think that's a good one to take a look at. First Peter chapter 5, you said? I forgot where it is.
It might not be it. No, I just did a little search.
Yeah, I can look it up. Let me look it up over here. And I don't know why that didn't work. Babylon, B-A-B. I don't know why I can't look that up. Jeremiah. It's giving me all the Old Testament. If somebody can look that up, I don't know why it just popped into my mind.
Yeah, 1 Peter 5:13 says that he
Five
calls
what?
her, she, Babylon.
Where?
It's, I don't know if that's the verse that you were looking for, because it just...
Where is it, bro?
It was 1 Peter 5:13. It just says that she who was in Babylon...
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Okay.
Let me pop that up. Let me pop that up for everybody so you guys can see it. Sorry, guys. So, 1 Peter... chapter 5. I would start right at verse 11. So, he's talking about Rome here, but here it is. To him be the glory and might forever and ever. Amen. Obviously, Father. Through Silas, the trustworthy brother, as I reckon, I have written to you briefly, encouraging and witnessing that this is the true favor of Elohim. In this stand fast. She who is in Babylon, chosen together with you, greet you. Also, my son Mark, greet one another with a kiss of love. Peace unto all you who are in Messiah, Yeshua.
Gotcha.
Amen.
Yep,
so
referencing Rome as Babylon. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's talking right. So he's talking about Rome. So even they had the concept that
it was a type,
Babylon, that Rome is a type of Babylon. And so we've been living, there's still a Rome today. There's still a Babylon today. We're living, and when you read Revelation 13, especially Revelation 13, because you have to understand the story. The story of what he's telling us is there will be a beast. There will be a nation. There will be an entity that is the extension of Rome, which is really the extension of Babylon, the beast that comes out of the sea. And it's going to be there. It was there in Peter's day. It was there in the 2nd century, in the 3rd century, in the 4th century, and it is still here today, and it's worthy of a whole other study and conversation in and of itself. But there's going to be so Rome is going to exist in one form or another. Obviously, it's much bigger now than it was before. It's much more powerful, and even in Revelation 13, it says, who can withstand the beast? What nation can come against militarily, strength-wise, against the beast? And you can start, funneling that out to where we are today as to who he's talking about. So there is still a nation that is represented by Rome that is called the beast and the false prophet. And when we read false prophet, it's kind of, unless you know how Father speaks, he's not just talking about a false prophet, a guy. He's talking about a religion, a religion that looks like a lamb but speaks like a dragon. And this religion is connected to this beast. They may not be the same entity. They're not the same entity. One's a religion, the other one is a country, and every generation has had to live through some iteration of both the beast and the false prophet. Every generation of believers has had to, come to grips with that and then live in whatever century they're living and pursue truth.
Endure, yeah.
and endure. So why I say we're at a disadvantage is because an advantage in one sense in that we have history as our 2020 hindsight, but the disadvantage is we have been living in the beast and with the false prophet that has now deceived the whole world. The whole world is deceived by this false prophet.
Yep.
And we lived in it. And so we have all of that influence that has been part of all of our lives. And now we begin to understand some things, and it's a process to come out of that.
Yep.
It's not, and you say a prayer and everything's cool. And I guess we kind of miss the purpose of the prayer. That just like you went to the temple and you brought a lamb or an offering as a sin offering, that sin offering, as Father accepted it, meant that you were cleansed.
Yep.
Right? You were forgiven. Okay, so what do you do then? Well, you don't go back to what you were doing. You learn. You keep going forward. And so.
Yep. That's Ephesians 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
Ephesians 2, 8 through 10.
Yep. Yep. So for us, the disadvantage is we've lived with the beast. We're in the beast, and we've lived with the false religion for so long that coming out of it's not easy. There's a lot that you have to unlearn, and then there's stuff that you've got to learn all over again. What was that ministry? I forgot that ministry that guy had. Unlearning the.
Oh, unlearn the lies.
Unlearn the lies. Well, I forgot what the guy's name was.
Oh my goodness!
I can't remember. I can see his face. Yeah, the guy with the beard.
Lex
Myers. Right? Is that what it is? Lex Myers.
Yep.
Yeah. So he had that whole ministry of unlearning the lies, and so it's a process. And I guess that's kind of what we're heading at for everybody. It's a process, and each one of us, while we may understand now who Messiah is, or at least have a much, much better understanding who Messiah is, we're all still learning. And I think that's, one of the major differences of where we've come from, because the way that it's set up in every denomination, in every fellowship, in every, iteration of religion today, there is that standard stock belief. And if you want to come and be part of that group or name, you cannot deviate in any way from that standard set of parameters. And if you do, then there's all sorts of repercussions and stuff. There's no room for learning.
Yep.
There's no room for examination. We just have to accept that, well, the ones that came before us already figured out this whole thing. They figured out the whole truth. And now this is the truth, and I cannot deviate from it. I can't learn anything. I can't go beyond this. And certainly, I think we've all, at this point, realized that, no, this is a learning process. No, I don't know it all. And neither does anybody else, to be honest with you, because we're so far removed from the people of the 1st and 2nd century, because the mess really starts to happen around the 3rd century. But, we're so far removed from them, and we live amongst the beast, and we have lived under the tutelage and the thumb of the false prophet, a false religion, for so long that it's a process. But even if we didn't have all of that, it's still a process to understand who Father is.
Yep.
Let's say we didn't, let's say you're 1st century people. You got Messiah standing right in front of you. His own words to them was, if to he who has been given, if you learn that, more will be given until you have in abundance. He's talking about a process of understanding. When he speaks to the disciples in Matthew 13, he tells them, I'm telling to you, it has been given to understand the mysteries of the kingdom. So he's talking about generations that did not understand.
Didn't get it, yeah.
What they are now getting, what they are now understanding. So how different is it? It's not different for us now. We're also starting to understand. Plus, we've got the influence of the beast and the false prophet, which is why I think it is so dangerous, this idea that, it's something coming. There's a beast coming, there's a false prophet coming. I think we miss the whole story with that scenario. But I think the enemy created that scenario.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah.
It's
like, look over here, not what's going,
Yep.
It's that whole deception.
Look over here. It can't be this other stuff. It's got to be something else. So it's about the journey. And it is a journey. What is it? 2 Corinthians chapter 3. Let me pop that up for everybody. And this should be a familiar verse to everybody, but it kind of explains what's going on. 2 Corinthians chapter 3, and I think it's verse 10. Yeah, it's verse 10. Let me pop this up. Verse 9 says, for if the administering of condemnation had glory, the administration of righteousness exceeds much more in glory. For indeed, what has been made glorious has no glory in this respect, in the view of the glory that excels. I know you read this and it's like, what the heck is he talking about? For if that which is passing away was glorious, much more that which remains is glorious. In fact, you know what? That's not even, that's a neat verse. But it's attached to what we're saying. But what I was looking for is that we move from glory to glory. And let me make sure.
Sounds like a Kamala speech.
Word salad. That's terrible, man. Yeah. It's actually it's in this chapter.
Universe is big.
I like school buses.
Speaking to a bunch of adults, like we're a bunch of toddlers.
School buses are yellow.
And they have wheels.
And the bus goes round and round. It's actually this verse. So it is attached to what Saul's saying here in 2 Corinthians, but here it is. It's actually verse 17 and 18. I don't know why it won't let me highlight, but there we go. It says, now Yah is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of Yah is, there is freedom. And we all, as with unveiled face, we see in the mirror the glory of Yah, are being transformed into the same likeness from glory to glory, as from Yah the Spirit. And there it is. So it's a process.
Yep.
It's a day by day, week by week, month by month. But I've noticed, and we've got to be careful with this. I've noticed that even as we begin to understand the process, I've noticed that there's not a lot of patience or little patience, even within, I don't know whether you call it Hebrew roots or messianic or whatever definition, right, you want to put on it. I've noticed that there is a lack of patience sometimes.
It's almost really love, really.
Yeah, or a lack of love. That's another way of probably a more accurate way of putting it. In putting up with or teaching up people, and what we wind up doing is sometimes just cutting them off. I've had some conversations. I've seen some, stuff on these sites, and you go on, you log on, and you talk to people, and you're hoping, oh man, these are people that are getting it, and they shut you down because you're not saying things the way they want to say it. You don't look the way they expect you to look. You don't understand what, and I get it. Sometimes it's difficult if you understand a principle and other people don't, but you don't just cut them off because they don't understand it. You want to teach them up. You want to, and maybe that's just a shepherd's heart, but that should be the way we're doing this, because we're all at a disadvantage.
Or at least not shut them down.
Or at least not shut them down.
Where you are, right?
Yeah, and we're all at a different place. We're all learning truth. We're all starting to understand. And when you preach a message, when you do teachings, when you do stuff like this, a conversation, even though this is really just a conversation between me and you, it's not necessarily a teaching. But we got people listening, people that come in and want to hang out in the conversation. You got to be sensitive, because there's people that are listening that all they know right now is Yeshua's Messiah, and we are to keep the Torah, which is great. Which is great. There's a lot more to that. What gets me, and it's, and I'm not trying to rag on who we are, but we all have errors. We all have things that we got to deal with. But have you ever bumped into? And I know I talked about this at we got together at Tuscarora.
Tabernacles.
Yeah. Have you ever heard? And it's funny, it's silly, it's funny, but it's not funny. It's actually kind of serious. Have you ever? I'm sure you have, and everybody else probably has, because it's throughout the Hebrew roots thing. And maybe it's a little bit less now. I don't know, but I still see people saying this from time to time on the different chat rooms, that the Earth is flat.
Yeah.
I just don't get that.
Yeah.
Why would you go there? And I mean people that vehemently want to prove through the scripture, or even some of what we would call the Apocrypha, that that I forgot what verse it is, that Father has the world in between his hands.
Earth is his footstool? Or?
Oh, yeah, the earth is. But there's another one that says that the earth is in between his hands, and the idea is, well, he's making it flat like a hamburger. I don't know. I think it's more round like a meatball, because when I take chopped meat and I roll it in between my hands, I'm making a meatball. But that's not neither here nor there. But listen.
Yeah, I've seen people teach more on that than the truth, right?
Yeah. I've seen entire ministries that are devoted to trying to show us how the earth is flat, and in essence, what they're saying is, don't believe your lying eyes. Mm-hmm. Don't believe the satellites that we've got that are flying in a circle around the earth. Don't believe the 2 space stations, the international one, and I think there's another Chinese space station that they're working on. Don't believe that. Don't believe every other planet that's in the universe.
Universe, yeah.
Out of everything there is round. Mm-hmm. But that this is flat. And what that does, that because that has been connected to Torah. Mm-hmm. And I think what that does is that diminishes us. It diminishes, or not us, it diminishes the truth in the eyes of other people. Because I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, what? Are you kidding me? And I listened to some of the stuff, and they tried to use some science, and and it's a matter of faith. There's the firmament divided from the firmament, and I'm like, no, I'm sorry. It's everything that there is all around us. Just common sense tells us it's spherical. Mm-hmm. And I think
we got to be
careful
that hurts
too.
Us. Even with the poetic words in the scripture, just like you and me are on a blade of grass, but we're referred to as grass. Yeah. Trees, fish, so many things. So we got to be really careful. Like you said, you look up into the universe and you see His creation. It's in the same likeness. So what? I don't know. It's
no, that's a very good point.
Part of the doctrine. It's doctrine of the Torah. It's like, and these people that are hearing this for the first time, if you absolutely know the earth is round, what credit are you going to even, or what's going to even attract you to hear whatever they said next? Because to them, you're just a wacko.
Yeah. No matter what comes out of your mouth after that, no matter how true whatever it is you're going to say after that is, you've diminished it.
You lost them. Yeah.
You lost them. And I get that. And it's not that, listen, we all say dumb things. We all do dumb things. Mm-hmm. But that's a big one, man. And I bump into people all the time on the different chat things, and I get people ask all the time, well, do you believe that the earth is still round? I'm like, yeah, of course I do. Mm-hmm. And honestly, who knows? Maybe to Father, the universe is flat. I don't know. I mean, that's
His ways are not our ways.
Yeah, His ways are not our ways. And in all reality, what does it have to do with anything?
Yeah. At the end of the day, like you said, what does it have to? It makes. There's no point in even bringing that up. What's the purpose of it? That's like saying, I have a moon rock. If you don't believe me, but now the gospel means nothing unless you believe I have a moon rock. I don't know. It's.
And then attached to this is always, they really didn't go to the moon, then you start going down the conspiracy. And listen, there are real conspiracies out there, real crazy stuff that's going on. But, some of it, though, you've got to really, really, be careful of that you don't. So, because all it's going to do is it's going to others who maybe would be quasi willing to hear. They hear stuff like that, and it's not just that. There's and I say this because we're so far, we're 2,000 years away from the first century and the second century believers, and we've been so infiltrated by so many other things that there really is a process of washing away a lot of stuff, of getting rid of a lot of stuff, and then relearning the truth. Mm-hmm. And it's not easy. It's not easy, and it doesn't just happen overnight. And it's not and I know we hear this over and over and over and over and over again, that so long as I say that prayer, that's it, I'm in. If that was the case, if indeed, and I know I'm stepping on, major religious doctrine here, and maybe something people think today that is so. Well, I've said that prayer, I'm there. Then the words of Messiah make no sense when he says, many will come to me in that day. And they're going to say, Master, Master. And going to go through the whole list of all the things they did, right? All the miraculous, et cetera, in his name. And his response is, depart from me. I don't know you. You are lawless. You are without Father's instruction.
Yep. So
if, obviously, in that scenario, they know him or they know of him. They have a belief and understanding that both what they are doing and what they have done is in his name. And according to the way we're telling most people, or what religion is telling most people, that's it. And yet Messiah is saying something very, very different.
Yeah, if we roll down that narrative, right, because we've seen it on every music award show. Oh, I just want to thank Jesus. I just my Lord and Savior, right? Oprah has stated to be a Christian, right? Obama, every president, and really, so the conceptual belief means nothing to Yah. Yah is a Elohim of action, right?
Yeah.
And it's faith first, right? We know that, and then what? We're created unto good works, and that's again Ephesians, so that we ought to walk in them, not just believe in them, but walk.
Yeah, I don't want to diminish the fact that we come by Father's grace through faith. That is absolutely true. I'm not in any way diminishing that point. I just don't think it's what we tell people.
Yep.
It's not what that means. It means that there was nothing that we could do to be forgiven by Father. But we have been forgiven by Father, not by what we've done, but by in whom we have believed. We believe the story of the stars. We believe the coming Messiah. But then there's stuff to do.
Yeah.
Then there's a walk. Then there's a washing. Then there's a cleansing that's got to go on. Then there's a learning. I think it is Philippians chapter 2, which should be another familiar verse to everybody. Here is Philippians chapter 2, and around verse 15 or 16, I guess it is. Let's take a look. Let me put this up for people. It says in verse let me make sure. Philippians 2, it says, in order that you be blameless and faultless, children of Elohim, without blemish, in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation, among whom you shine as lights in the world, holding on to the word of life. For a boast to me in the day of Messiah, that I have not run in vain or labored in vain. In fact, even if I am being poured out as a drink offering on the offering and service of your belief, I am glad and rejoice with you all. And it's right here that I want you guys to notice. He says, holding the word of life, that I have not run in vain or labored in vain. And I think later on, I think in the King James it says that I have not. I'm running the race. I'm continuing to run the race. Here he says I have not run in vain, and he's describing it as a race, not as a destination, not as an event, not as a thing you say, but as a thing you run, as a thing you as a thing you grow in, as a thing you proceed in. And I think later on he goes on to say that not that I have achieved it yet, but I continue for the high mark of the call, which is in Yeshua Messiah. He's continuing for it. He hasn't gotten there, but he's continuing for it. Why? Because he has come by faith. But then there is that which you need to do. I mean, could you think about, first of all, the reason why Father picked Saul to begin with. The guy knows Judaism upside down, inside out.
Back of his hand, yeah.
And that's who Father chooses to be the teacher, both to the Jews and to the Greeks. Actually, and it's kind of weird because, and I think we said this last week,
Hellenized Jews.
Yeah, they're Hellenized Jews, and it's one of those things that we've just lost in the Scripture. Now, there's no doubt that there are Gentiles, obviously, that are coming into, meaning just Romans or Scythians or whatever, but the bulk of the time, especially in the Gospel of John, when we hear the concept that the Greeks who came to see Yeshua, they said we would see Yeshua when he's the days before the crucifixion. They're not Gentiles. They are Jews, but they are Jews who have been Hellenized, who have been infiltrated by the Greek culture that still need to be taught and learned, and so the definitions are really, really important.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Oh, excuse me. So so it's a process. It's absolutely a process, and just like there are extremes, whether it's the flat Earth or I've seen some crazy things in the religious world we've come out of, and I see some crazy things in the religious world that we're in
the Torah movement.
So this is not a reiteration of Judaism, right? That's and I know a lot of people when they they hear us, or they or when you bump into family, friends, the first thing people think is, oh, you're Jewish, right? I had our brother-in-law one day say to me, but in the beginning, that's how we thought of it too, right? We did the Jewish things, and but it took a while to realize, no, I'm not really celebrating the New Year's in September. Father's New Year is in springtime.
Spring, yeah.
But I'm not. I don't want to necessarily do Hanukkah. I don't think it's not a feast day. It's important. It's prophetically important, and you grow. But people think well, we're just reiterating Judaism. We're not. But and I think everybody really has to wrap their mind around this at some point. This is a Jewish faith, and I know for some people don't like that.
Yeah.
And those are my words. Those are Yeshua's words. The woman at the well, the Samaritan woman. He tells her specifically, you guys don't know what you're doing. The Gentiles are out there. Salvation is of the Jews.
Yep.
We're not promoting Pharisaic Judaism, but this walk that we have, the God in whom we serve, the Messiah that is our high priest, is a Jewish thing.
Yep.
It is a Jewish thing, and we have to wrap our minds around that. It's not a Judaism
even
thing.
Paul, sorry, buddy.
No, go ahead.
So even Paul references it, right? He says that the real Jew is the one that's inward, right? The inward man, not just the outward, because you can be, Jewish
Let's take a look at that. I think that's Romans 2, I'm thinking. I'm just going off the top of my head here, but that sounds familiar. And I'm thinking around verse 20 something.
Did you hear that in the background?
Yeah, I heard him. Yeah, here it is. Let me show everybody. It's Romans chapter 2. It's verses 28 and 29. It's more than that. It's the chapter, but it says, "For he is not a Jew who is one outwardly, neither is circumcision that which is outward in the flesh, but a Jew is he who is so inwardly. And circumcision is that of the heart, in spirit, not literally, whose praise is not from men, but from Elohim." So yeah, he's telling us this faith.
I think it's pretty funny that he had to tell us not literally circumcising your heart.
Yeah, well, that's a one-time deal, bro. Right? You do that. No, me and PM were talking about that last night. He's working on a message on that, but yeah. So this is, and I know it's weird because what winds up happening historically is there is a knee-jerk reaction by the end of the 2nd century during the time of the Jewish wars with Rome, or the Roman wars with the Jews, however you want to say it, of which the Netzarim were not part of. Right, the Netzarim got out. They followed the instructions of Messiah. He said, "When you see, the city,
head for the mountains, Joe.
Yeah, get out." So, and I've read before that at the second war with the false Messiah that was there, I forgot what his name was. They asked the Netzarim, because the Netzarim became a big sect of Judaism, to be part of it, to fight Rome, and they wouldn't. And they were sort of, from a cultural sense, considered non-Jews anymore, but they weren't. They were Jewish. But there's a knee-jerk reaction that happens by the second and third century against Judaism, and what is connected to Judaism, the Netzarim, and that's when you have the Gentile church that moves the quote-unquote Gentile believers, the Christians of their day, begin to move away from their Hebraic background. That and plus they didn't want James or Yaakov and Jude and Peter, and they didn't want these Jewish men, many of whom were relatives of Yeshua, to be in charge of them. And it really is a terrible story. It really is if you want to talk about racism, it really is a racist story. And so the knee-jerk reaction is to move away from that stuff, and so they took the story of the Messiah of Israel, everything Saul writes, everything Yeshua says, and they changed the story into a demigod, which has always been the story of a demigod from the Gentiles to begin with, and of course Rome creates what it is, and rest of history plays itself out. But it is a Jewish faith, and so we're trying to get back to that.
We see the racism just in the names that they change everyone's names from, like you said.
Yeah.
James from Jacob, Jude from Judah. I mean, there's so many, everything.
Yeah.
Yohanan, right?
Peter.
John.
Peter.
Paul.
John. Paul. Yeah, I heard another thing. This again. I saw it again this week, and I've heard people say this again and again and again, that Saul changes his name from Saul to Paul. No, he doesn't.
Nope. Show me where.
Yeah, that doesn't happen. I get it. That's the way that it would have been pronounced. But there's no name change. There's no equivalent of Abram to Abraham.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, that happens with Abram. That's definitely happens with Abram.
Jacob to Israel.
Jacob to Israel. But there is no Saul to Paul. That I'm not saying he doesn't have a conversion. Obviously he does.
Yeah.
But that's not.
God didn't try to get rid of his Hebrew Jewish name.
No.
Nope.
And I mean, if you think about it, who does Father pick to teach us? A Pharisee of Pharisees who understands the mistakes that have been made, but also has enough knowledge to instruct us in what was wrong, and then to instruct us in what is correct, what is right, what we should be doing. And we've become, or it has become, something so different from what it was, and now here we are 2,000 years later. How much more different has it become in our modern day than it was from the first or second century? I mean, could you imagine Saul or Peter or Cephas or John, Yochanan? Could you imagine any one of them walking into a modern church today?
Oh my goodness!
What they would say? I mean, really,
Yeah.
what do you think would be the response of Paul, Saul, whatever you want to call him, Shaul? Right?
I don't think they'd see any difference from when they, in Acts 15, when they would do the right coming out of the temples.
Yeah, we told you, stop with the idolatry, stop eating things that are strangled, stop drinking blood, and stop with the sexual sin.
Yeah. And obviously, you didn't go to the synagogue on the Sabbath to learn.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
it would be I guess the equivalent, or the only real example we could see is Yeshua going into the temple. He goes in and he's like, "What are you guys doing?" And of course, knocks over the tables, yada yada, all the rest of that, because the intent that was given over time because of men. So if this happens in Judaism, right, and the temple's right there, imagine what we have done in 2,000 years of mixing what is a Jewish faith with everything of the nations, which is exactly, I mean, that is the warning that Father gives, throughout the Torah.
Yep.
Do not worship as the Gentiles do, which means don't mix that stuff. You can't worship Yah with the things of the world.
Yep.
But it's a process. It's a process.
We brought up before, even in the Hebraic roots world, or whatever you want to call, how they lay these burdens too upon people, not only with the flat Earth teachings, not all of them, but like you said, but a lot of groups even will tell you, because I've had this on Facebook pages years ago, people saying, if you're wearing a champion sweatshirt, I'm wearing a champion. Oh no, you're not walking in Messiah. How can you be wearing name brand clothes and these things? You have to dress now a certain way. You have to dress, in a more, I don't know. I'm sure you've seen some of these groups. They become almost like hippies.
I've seen some of the groups, yeah, and I got it. I'll be honest with you, man. Sometimes I look at some of this and I'm like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
You don't have to dress like you're actually coming out of Egypt. Right? Because that's kind of, I see that a lot.
Yeah.
Listen, and I know we bump into this all the time, and maybe you guys online have bumped into this as well. You got to grow a beard. Well, I mean, obviously, I have a beard.
Yeah, if you like it, if you like a beard, go ahead.
But I don't grow a beard because the Bible says that I need to. I mean, if the Bible did say it, which it doesn't, all right, that's one thing. But it doesn't say that. I grow a beard because I don't like shaving, honestly. Yeah. It's just one of those things you got to do. Once you start it, you just got to keep doing it and doing it. So, that's but right. And plus, my wife likes the beard. So if my wife likes the beard, guess what? I'm gonna have a beard.
Yeah, I have no hair on my head, so I have to have some type of hair on my,
Yeah, but I have bumped into, I've seen online, that you got to have a beard, and it's got to be, and it can't even just be like a neat, I've grown my beard out, nasty looking, and of course Sister Karen's like, you need to shave that thing, but you don't have to have the quintessential Moses beard, to be Hebrew roots. You could be clean shaven, and I guess where that era comes from is Leviticus 19. Let's see if we can pop that up there.
Dead, you have tattoos
and it's not just us. It's our Jewish brethren too. Our Jewish brethren have a different version of this, but they still do it. I don't know if you've ever seen.
So we got to remember too, even with the dress, right? That was a cultural. That's how they dressed 2,000 years ago.
Even today, you look at many of the very, very conservative Jews, and they're it's a dress
black
code,
suits,
right? It's a dress code, or with the Hasidim, it's the wigs for the women and so forth and so on.
Even in the summertime, right? Don't they wear their jackets, right? They're just they're long black coats in the middle of the summertime, and everyone that's in New York City knows what I'm talking about. In Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, if you live in New York, it's part of our New York culture here. But does that make you more separated and unto Father? Yeah. No, I don't know if you ever see that video. There's this guy that goes into the different communities, and he goes into
the bald guy.
Yeah. I cannot remember his name.
Yeah, it's good. He's on YouTube.
Yeah, he's got some good. He has some good stuff because he's doing some real decent research. And I remember watching the one time, we've all seen, the locks that many of our Jewish brethren, the Hasidim, wear, the long curls that come down, and when I heard the explanation for it, I was like, wait a minute, that has nothing to do. This is not an instruction from Moses, and it has to do, it says don't clip
the corner.
Clip or glean the corner of your fields, right? Let those fruit trees grow or whatever, and that's supposed to, so they take that verse of don't glean the corner of your fields and they apply it to their hair.
Not realizing the context was because Yah said to leave it for the animals, for the poor, for the widow.
Right.
Don't be greedy and try to rip off every grape off every tree. leave the outside, right? What?
So
You
a
know?
more accurate interpretation of it,
The spirit
or
of
application of it,
hmm
would be you part of what you bring in, you need to provide for others. You need to do charity. You need to show love. You need
Yep.
to support other things, other people. But of course, our Jewish brethren took that and they made it the hair. And not all of them. Not all groups do that. But
hmm
but there is the one that does this. But here's the whole issue with the beard, and I think the misunderstanding of it. So here's the instruction that comes right out of Acts chapter 15. Do not eat meat with blood. Do not eat things that are strangled. That's what that means. So even in Acts, he's quoting Leviticus 19. Do not practice divination or magic, which is idolatry. This is right out of Acts 15. But here's the thing. Do not round the corner of your head, nor destroy the corner of your beard. So you could say, well, the assumption there is that, they all had beards. Well, that's probably true, because that was, but it wasn't just, the Jews that had beards. It was, everybody, most men, and look at all the pictures we've got of the Persians. They're all bearded. Romans, you always see the Romans clean shaven though, right?
Yeah.
Ever notice that?
Yeah. At least in the movies.
At least in the movies, Well, I mean, what do? They walk around with razors every morning, and I mean, who knows?
And even when it says to destroy, because the pagans would do that. They'd rip out their hair, they'd pull out their beards, just like we saw with Baal. Remember?
Yeah.
When they cut themselves, and they did all these things, and then he goes on and tells them, right? Do not make any cuttings in your flesh.
Yeah.
For the dead.
So this is not an instruction of you should wear a beard. Yeah. This is an instruction, because it comes down to verse 28, as you just said it. And do not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor put a tattoo marks on you. I am Yah. And he's talking about pagan practices that he doesn't want inside of the people of Yah. Grow a beard? Fine.
It doesn't mean
don't,
you can't
don't
take your
cut
Gillette
it away.
and trim up your, or your razor. It's...
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Again, shaving back then was probably a much more precarious thing than it is today.
Flinted rock, right?
Could you imagine that first circumcision?
Oh my goodness!
With
Joshua.
Joshua.
Yep.
Oh my!
Well, what they call it, the mound of
the mound of foreskins. Yeah, the mound of foreskins. Wow. Oh my! And we're not talking about razor blades. We're not talking about antiseptic. There's no
Novocaine type needle.
No Novocaine.
Oh my goodness! And just to prove our point, you see that, right, with oh my gosh, Jacob's the daughter. What's her name?
Dinah.
Yeah, right. When she gets basically raped, right, and then the guy's like, "Oh, I want her," and then her brothers come in after they all get circumcised, because these guys are mourning in pain, moaning and groaning, and they went and they killed every man in the city.
Wow. Yeah. So, not a good thing. So so I am very
guys like out there cringing right now.
I am very, very thankful that we are living in the day in which we are living today. Which honestly,
although you saw a live circumcision with my son.
Yeah.
That and for a bit it was hard to watch.
But it's almost in our culture become a moot thing, because the vast majority of American boys, babies, wind up being circumcised in the hospital.
Yeah.
As a normal medical practice.
For cleanliness and
I almost got to wonder if because why again, I would say why do we do that? You just said for cleanliness, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on. I don't play one on TV. But
hey,
what, for 5,000-6,000 years?
Yeah, exactly.
And now all of a sudden,
removed from the 8th day to the,
whatever
day,
second, whatever day.
And can I tell you a quick story real fast? When we did the research, just for people out there, it's really cool. When Josiah got circumcised, we did it on the 8th day, and the doctor was like, the nurse who hooked us up with the doctor who did the circumcision, she said, "Oh, did you know that on the 8th day?" Well, I told her, I'm sorry, that a boy has the highest level of vitamin K in their body that they'll ever have, because that coagulates the blood.
That's clotting factor,
blood.
yeah.
And because they give the baby in the hospital, they have to give them an injection. So when they do it on when they're first born, they have to give them a vitamin K injection to help coagulate the blood for when they give the circumcision. But if we all followed it the way Yah told us, on the 8th day, it's a natural thing with the vitamin K1. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So, but again, for us, it's kind of a moot thing. Which obviously, Father knows what's coming. He knows what's going to happen. He knows what the beast is going to do, and He always intended it to be a circumcision of the heart. Right? Yep. There was that physical example, but it was always supposed to be a circumcision of the heart. So, but actually, man, I can't believe it's our hours run out already.
Oh, wow, it's actually a minute over.
Conversation just went so quickly, but I want everybody to at least get this for this morning. It's a process, right? And you may be at a different point than someone else. You may understand things differently than someone else. Be careful, have compassion, be patient with people. If they're pursuing Father, Father was patient with us, and He gave us time to understand, and He gave us time to learn, and we need to give others time to learn and to understand, and to rather than just cut people off because they're not doing the same thing you are, or they're not dressing the same way you are, or whatever the outward thing is or belief.
Almost becomes pharisaical, right?
It actually, yeah. I mean, it's not even almost. It is kind of pharisaical. But we need to teach people up, because we are all coming out of darkness. All of us are coming out of darkness. 2,000 years of the enemy building up, his way to make us think, and now we're coming out of that, and it's a journey. It's a process. So don't give up, guys. Don't give up. Nope. You're going to succeed one day. You're going to fail the next, and you're going to get back up, and you're going to succeed the next day, and keep going. And just bring people with you. Bring people up. Teach them. Learn. Yep. That's my thought for this morning.
Amen. Yep. And if you give me the last word, just want to let everyone know that next week there'll be no manna, right?
Yep.
Yep. And Wednesday night also, right, bro?
Yeah, there won't be a Wednesday night Bible study, and there won't be Saturday on the Sabbath, hidden manna. But we will have morning mannas every day, so you'll be able to get up and do your daily devotion. But I'm going to be away for a little bit, so we're going to take a break on that. But we'll be back, the following week, the following Wednesday, and we're going to start our Passover messages.
Hopefully,
and
I'll
stories.
have my new mic.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I work for a NASCAR.
Yeah, hopefully all that stuff will come in, and we'll get that all ironed out. But brother, I love you, man.
Love you too, man. Shabbat shalom. Everyone enjoy your Sabbath. Have a good time with your family, and get some rest.
All right, bro, man. Enjoy your day.
You too, buddy.
Peace. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. It went really, really kind of quick. I know a little bit different conversation, but it's the process. It's the process that we're all going through. Be patient with people. Be patient with others around you. Yes, teach them truth. Yes, stand your ground. There are some things we definitely need to stand our ground on and say this is what it says. But there's a lot of other things. We just need to be patient with people, and Father will teach them. Father will give them a heart. If they truly do have a heart for Yah, Father's going to soften that heart, and they'll begin to understand. So with that, guys, again, join us tomorrow morning for our last message on From the Beginning. We're going to talk about Abraham one more time, and then like I said, there won't be Wednesday, there won't be Saturday, but we'll see you the next week after that, and there will be next weekend we'll have a regular service. So, but don't forget to hit that like button. Join us on the app. Be part of the Living Manna Church app. You guys can go right to your App Store or Google Play Store, and you can download the app for free. Be part of the conversation. Saw some neat meals this past Thursday. Keep it up. Love seeing it, and all sorts of scriptures people put on there and thoughts. And I love it, guys. Keep the conversation going. We want to make this more of a community with everybody that's part of LMC all over the country and even outside of the country. So, guys, with that, enjoy the rest of your Sabbath day, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Yah bless. Shabbat shalom.